championship rounds, round 11. And now, here we go. We are looking at a sports legend in the purple trunks, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The Chopper stops the fight. And Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
mayhem. It is bedlam.
This is the Boxing Talk and Old Time Boxing Show on UStream, presented by GAR1680. Here is your host, Paco Rivera.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Boxing Talk and Old Time Boxing Show on UStream. This show is brought to you by Golden Age Radio, GAR1680 AM. The phone lines will be open during the show, so feel free to call in anytime to offer your comments or opinions. Last Friday, ESPN kicked off their Friday Night Fights series with what I thought was going to be a decent presentation. In the main event, two super middleweights with very good records met in the ring in Key West, Florida, when up-and-comers Dyah Davis faced Alfonso Lopez. Much was made about Dyah Davis being the son of 1976 Olympic gold medalist champion Howard Davis Jr., and his opponent Alfonso Lopez having just one loss, a majority decision loss to former middleweight champion Kelly Pavlik. The Friday night fight, however, didn't really live up to any of its hype. During the first 6 rounds, both fighters, appearing to have mostly defense in mind, pretty much stayed back from each other, and just about every time they did get close, they immediately wrapped each other up like octopuses. It was like both men were terrified of each other. In the first round, the CompuBox numbers showed Davis having landed 3 punches and Lopez only 2. Enough to put nearly any fight fan to sleep. So they mostly circled, or let's say skated around each other most of the time, and it appeared to be a classic case of having gone to see a fight and a hockey game broke out. There were some minor exchanges in the 7th and 8th round, and at one point it appeared that Davis hurt Lopez with a solid punch. But Davis didn't take advantage and follow up for the kill, so to speak, while Lopez stood seemingly dazed in the middle of the ring. Things got so bad that in the 9th round, commentators Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas spent much of the entire round talking about what's going on in college football. I kept expecting the Key West crowd to begin booing during the fight, but fortunately they remained polite and that didn't happen. I remember seeing on occasion in the past a frustrated referee stepping in between 2 boxers and scolding them with words like, "Hey, come on, let's start fighting." And I thought that might also happen. Anyway, that spectacular battle went the full 10 rounds with both fighters barely breaking a sweat, and Dyah Davis did get a unanimous decision.
This is the Boxing Talk Show on GAR1680.
Is the sport of boxing making a comeback? Will that happen this year? Some in the boxing industry seem to think so and are even considering the possibility of a full-time premium boxing television network. How many today would pay for a monthly subscription to that? 25 years ago, or about 25 years ago, you could walk up to just about any casual boxing fan and ask him to name some world champions. Right away, you'll hear Larry Holmes is the heavyweight champ, or Michael Spinks, Marvin Hagler, middleweight, Sugar Ray Leonard, welterweight, Julio Cesar Chavez, lightweight, and you might get 2 or 3 more names. Now, if you walk up to a casual boxing fan or even a big boxing fan and ask that person how many world champions they can name, they have to think for a moment. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Oh, yeah, and the Russian heavyweight brothers. When this is happening, you know boxing is in trouble. Mind you, the decline in boxing viewership and fanship is mostly here in the United States, because in Mexico and many other countries around Europe and the rest of the world, the sport is still huge. About as big as the NFL here in some places, I think. Floyd Mayweather's lawyers were able to convince a Las Vegas judge to postpone his 90-day jail sentence, which was supposed to begin last Friday, by emphasizing that Mayweather's fights over the years has helped bring in about $1 billion in revenue to the Las Vegas businesses, and that his scheduled May 5th fight would bring in another large chunk of cash to Vegas. The judge then accepted an agreement for Mayweather to start his jail term on June 1st. Who Mayweather will fight on May 5th is still unknown. There is speculation that he will face undefeated WC light middleweight champion Saul El Canelo Alvarez. His nickname Canelo means cinnamon due to the reddish color of his hair. Alvarez fights out of Mexico and has a 39-0 record, with 29 of those wins having come by way of knockout. And get this, he has been fighting professionally since he was 15 years old. I think he would definitely be a good test for Mayweather should they meet on 5/5, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. From everything I see, Canelo is probably not the slouch that some may think he is. Another fighter named as a possible opponent for Mayweather is Robert the Ghost Guerrero. The Ghost has a record of 29 wins and 1 loss. That one loss, however, happened almost 7 years ago in 2005, and he avenged that loss with a win in a rematch 6 months later. Guerrero hasn't been too active because of an arm problem, but a bigger problem for him is that he is basically a lightweight and would have to move up in weight to face Mayweather as a welterweight, whereas Canelo Alvarez fights mostly as a light middleweight. Here's a question. Would a Mayweather win set up the showdown with Manny Pacquiao? That remains to be seen. Top-ranked promoter and CEO Bob Arum said he was flying out to the Philippines this week to set up the Pac-Man's next bout to occur sometime around the Mayweather fight, and that discussions will continue in an attempt to bring about the fight that fans really want to see. And that could possibly bring the sport back into the spotlight. Before that, however, who is Pacquiao going to fight? Well, once in the Philippines, Arum will be tossing the names Lamont Peterson, a rematch with Miguel Cotto, undefeated Timothy Bradley, or the guy I think most want to see Pac-Man fight again, Juan Manuel Marquez. Many fans of the sport, as well as boxing experts, say that Marquez was robbed the last time he met Pacquiao, and that a fourth fight between them is necessary.
7 years ago, Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez first met as featherweights. And in the very first round, the rising Filipino star unleashed a memorable onslaught of ferociousness.
Manny Pacquiao is a storm. Juan Manuel Marquez hasn't ever seen anything like that.
But the Mexican weathered the storm. As the fight went on, his resiliency only strengthened.
Hard right hand stuns Pacquiao. And it could be the comeback of a lifetime for Juan Manuel Marquez. Fire against fire. Down the stretch. Pacquiao's left, Marquez's right.
The bout was declared a draw, leaving questions unanswered until 4 years later, when the pair met again for a rematch.
Uppercut by Marquez. Huge left hook. Buckles Pacquiao. Down goes Marquez. Perfect shot by Pacquiao. One more right hand for Marquez. One more combination for Pacquiao. They trade shots down the stretch.
Once again, the fighters went the distance, though this time, Pacquiao was awarded a one-point split decision victory on the scorecards. In the years since, Pacquiao has risen from boxing star to global celebrity, while Marquez has maintained his standing atop the sport, perhaps as well known to some fans for his training peculiarities as his ring prowess. Now, after 24 nearly even and relentless rounds of boxing, two rivals prepare for another collision, while two celebrated trainers search for strategies that could at last determine a decisive victor. From the Philippine Islands to the streets of Mexico City, the Hollywood Hills, and the Las Vegas Strip. 4 weeks, 2 camps, all access.
Let me say something about the Pacquiao-Marquez trilogy, their first 3 fights. These two fighters first met in 2004. That fight was ruled a draw. In 2008, Marquez lost a split decision. One judge had him winning. In their third meeting last year, one judge had it a draw, and the other two a slight edge on the scorecards for Pacquiao. What I think everyone needs to keep in mind, and you can call to correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the history of boxing, as I believe this to almost always be the case, to take a title belt from a champion, you can't just beat the champ. You have to either knock him out or overwhelmingly beat him. Nearly 100% of the time, judges at ringside are going to give close rounds to the champ. And they will often give the round to the champ even if his opponent outboxed and outpunched the champ, but did not do so in overwhelming fashion. That's the key word here, overwhelming. That sort of bias amongst judges has always existed in the history of this sport. Unfortunately, there has also been other types of biases as well, ruling for or against a fighter because of the city or country he is from or the fighter's race. But hopefully that sort of bias doesn't occur too often.
This is the Boxing Talk and Old Time Boxing Show on UStream, presented by GAR1680.
The debacle following the Amir Khan Lamont Peterson fight last month continues like a soap opera, much of it revolving around a mystery man wearing a hat who was seen walking around just outside the ring throughout the fight, and the possibility of him having had something to do with the final scores. That man was later identified and is possibly an IBF representative. Khan versus Peterson was a great fight. I mean, it was jam-packed, full of action from start to finish. And even if you didn't see it, I highly suggest you find it, maybe on YouTube or somewhere else, and have a look for yourself. It was a hell of a battle. I had a chance to see the fight again, and this time I wrote down a score for each round. In the end, I basically had it a draw, but with the referee having deducted 2 points from Khan for pushing, that alone gave Peterson the win. Instead of all this controversy, I would suggest settling the matter the good old-fashioned way, with a rematch. I think anybody who saw the fight would definitely want to see them do it again. Peterson, as I already mentioned, is on a short list of prospects for Manny Pacquiao, but I don't think he's ready for that yet. I would much rather see him take on Khan. Phone lines are open. Call with your comments or opinion. The number is 605-215-1680. That's 605-215-1680. Or you can email me at gar1680@gmail.com. You can also find us on our Facebook site. Golden Age Radio 1680. Just follow the link from our homepage, GAR1680.webs.com. Or you can share your thoughts on the chat panel right here on this UStream site. And what is being billed as the first mega fight of the year 2012, undefeated WC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. will be fighting another Mexican, Marco Antonio Rubio, who has 53 wins to his name. That match will happen in Houston, Texas on February 4th to be shown on HBO. What is not yet known is if Chavez's title will be a factor, though some schedules posted around the internet do show that he will in fact be defending it. During a promotional event last week, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. stated that he will show the world that he did not get to where he is by being the son of a legend and from sharing that name, that he got there by his own sweat and sacrifice. 2 days from now, on Friday the 13th, Teon Kennedy of Philadelphia will take on Chris Martin in a battle of top 10 ranked contenders at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. That fight will be shown on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Kennedy is ranked 7th by the IBF. He has a record of 17 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, with 7 knockouts. That 1 loss he has occurred the last time he fought, in August, a 12-round unanimous decision awarded to Alfonso Lopez. Kennedy's opponent on Friday the 13th, Chris Martin, is ranked 9th by the IBF. He has a record of 23 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws, with 6 KOs. The single loss he has also happened in his last fight, a split decision 10-round loss to Jose Angel Barraza back in October. So both fighters will be looking forward to not making it 2 in a row.
You are listening to Golden Age Radio on 1680 AM in Concord, North Carolina. Please visit us on the web at gar1680.webs.com.
For those of you that would like to stick around and continue chatting with each other on our UStream chat panel, there will be 4 short old-time boxing shows. The first is the 1954 battle between Rocky Marciano and Ezzard Charles, who was the only man ever to last 15 rounds against Marciano. That will be followed by the 1923 match between Jack Dempsey and Louis Firpo, and then Dick Tiger versus Gene Fulmer from 1962. Finally, the rematch between Marciano and Charles, which happened 3 months later after their first epic battle. In that second fight, however, Charles didn't last the 15 rounds.
Yankee Stadium, where Rocky Marciano is ready to defend his World Heavyweight Championship against former champion Ezzard Charles. This is the biggest fistic battle of the year, and the setting is just about perfect. It's a cool summery evening with nearly 50,000 fight fans inside the huge ballpark. General Douglas MacArthur is here with General John Reed Kilpatrick at left, president of Madison Square Garden. The lady in the center there is Mrs. Ezzard Charles, wife of the challenger. Giant manager Leo DeRocher and his wife Lorraine Day are also ringsiders as announcer Johnny Addy makes his introduction.
Main event, 15 rounds for the heavyweight championship of the world.